In the shining heart of the Andarian Empire, Princess Lyra stood alone beneath a sky full of stars, her reflection shimmering in the glass of the palace dome. The grand hall was filled with music and laughter, but Lyra felt as if she was invisible. Single note lost in a grand symphony. Tonight was the last royal ball, and it was supposed to be her night. She should have been the center of attention, the one everyone wanted to know. Instead, she felt distant from everyone, even the people she cared about most. Her best friend, Prince Kale, had moved away a year ago. He was sent to another star system to learn the ways of his mother's people. At first, they sent each other messages every day, sharing stories and dreams. But as time passed, those messages became less frequent. Now, she barely heard from him at all. Sometimes she wondered if he still thought of her, or if he had already found new friends, maybe even someone he cared about more. Lyra missed Kale's jokes and the way he always encouraged her to be brave. She missed their long talks late. At night, when they would sneak out to the palace gardens and watch meteor showers. Without him, everything felt empty, like part of her world had moved far away and left her behind. As the ball continued, suitors from every corner of the galaxy tried to impress her parents. They wore shining armor, brought rare gifts, and spoke in careful, practiced words. But none of them spoke to her, not really. They talked about treaties and alliances, but never asked her what she wanted or how she felt. Lyra tried to smile, but her heart ached with loneliness. She wanted to reconnect with Kale, to tell him how much she missed him, but she didn't know how. Every time she tried to write a message, the words seemed wrong or too small for what she felt. She worried that if she reached out, he might not answer, and that would hurt even more. Lyra walked to the edge of the hall, away from the bright lights and swirling dancers. She looked up at the stars, wondering if Kale was looking at the same sky. She remembered something he once said: no matter how far we go, we're always under the same stars. Maybe, she thought, he felt distant too. A soft voice interrupted her thoughts. "Princess Lyra, are you all right?" It was one of her tutors, an old Andarian named Cerise. His eyes were gentle, and Lyra felt safe enough to nod, even as her heart felt heavy. Cerise sat beside her. "It's hard when someone you care about is far away," he said quietly. "But sometimes distance shows us how much we truly care. And sometimes it gives us the hope to do something brave." Lyra listened quietly. She thought about what hope really meant. It wasn't just waiting for things to change. It was believing that she could try, even if it was scary. Maybe she didn't have to find the perfect words. Maybe she just had to reach out and say hello. The ball ended, and as the guests left, Lyra walked through the empty halls back to her room. She sat at her desk and looked at her communicator. Her fingers hesitated over the keys, but then she remembered all the times Kale had encouraged her to be brave. She started a message. At first, she just typed, "Hello." Then the words began to flow. "Kale, I don't know if you still check these messages, but I wanted to say I miss you. Things are different here without you. I hope you're happy, but I also hope you remember the meteor showers and our talks. I guess I just wanted to say that I haven't forgotten. I hope we can talk soon." Lyra, she sent the message before she could change her mind. It felt scary, but also a little bit hopeful. Maybe it wouldn't change anything, but at least she tried. As she lay down to sleep, Lyra felt a small warmth growing in her chest, a feeling that maybe, just maybe, things could get better. Her story was not over. Even if the galaxy felt cold and distant, she still had hope. After all, as the stars outside her window reminded her, every ending was just the start of something new. Princess Lyra felt a little lighter after sending her message to Kale, but the sadness didn't disappear. She waited for a reply, checking. Her communicator, every morning and night. Days passed, but there was no answer. The palace felt even bigger and emptier. She watched the stars from her window and wondered if Kale had forgotten her, or if he was just too busy in his new life. Her parents noticed her quiet mood. "You need to think about the future, Lyra," her mother said gently. "There are many suitors waiting for your decision." But Lyra barely listened. She wished there was someone who understood her heart, not just the rules and traditions of the royal family. One evening, Lyra joined her parents in the council chamber. The great screen showed the faces of princes and leaders from across the galaxy. Her father announced, "We will send a challenge across the stars. Whoever can prove their worth will win Lyra's hand in marriage." Lyra felt nervous. She didn't want to be a prize. She wanted someone who would care about her as a person, not just as a princess. The challenge was sent out that night. Across the galaxy, people watched the message on their screens. Some laughed, some scoffed, and many ignored it. But on a small, blue planet called Earth, Alex Carter was just finishing his dinner when he saw the message pop up on his old computer. Alex was nobody special. He was an engineer, working long hours at a small repair shop. He had friends, but sometimes he felt lonely. He'd never left Earth, but he liked to look at the stars and dream about other worlds. When he saw Lyra's message, he felt something stir inside him. She looked sad and hopeful at the same time. He understood that feeling. He had felt that way when his sister moved far away and stopped calling as often. Alex read the rules of the challenge. Most people would think it was impossible, but Alex believed that sometimes the impossible just needed someone brave enough to try. He wanted to help. Even if he didn't win, maybe he could be a friend to someone who seemed as lonely as he sometimes felt. He wrote a short reply. "Hello, Princess Lyra. My name is Alex Carter. I'm from Earth. I don't have a fancy title, but I think everyone deserves a friend. I would like to try your challenge, if that's allowed." He didn't expect a reply. But the next morning, his phone buzzed. There was a message from the Andarian Palace. They had accepted his request. Alex was nervous, but also excited. He packed a small bag with his favorite book, some tools, and a photo of his family. He said goodbye to his friends and promised he would write. A spaceship arrived to pick him up. He had never been in space before. As the ship rose above Earth, Alex looked out at the blue oceans and green fields below. He felt a mix of fear and hope. He didn't know what would happen, but he knew one thing. He wanted to try. Back on Andarian, Lyra's parents announced that a human from Earth would join the challenge. Many people laughed. "Earthlings are so simple," they said. "He will never succeed." But Lyra was curious. She remembered the stories Kale used to tell her about Earth, about their courage and their hearts. Maybe this human would be different from the others. Maybe he would understand her. When Alex arrived at the palace, he was surprised by how grand everything looked. The walls sparkled, and the halls were filled with alien art. He felt out of place in his simple clothes. But he smiled politely to everyone he met. Lyra watched him from the shadows. She noticed how he looked around with wonder, not fear. While others tried to impress her with gifts, Alex just said, "Hello, I'm happy to meet you." That night, Lyra thought about Kale and how distant he felt, but she also thought about Alex and his gentle smile. She wondered if maybe, just maybe, she could find a friend here. Alex was given a room in the palace. He looked up at the stars through his window, just like he did at home. He missed Earth, but he was glad he came. He wrote a letter to his sister, telling her all about the palace and the stars. In her own room, Lyra checked her communicator for a reply from Kale. Still nothing. She felt a familiar sadness, but she also felt a new hope. She had reached out to someone far away, And now someone had reached out to her dot. As the palace prepared for the first challenge, Lyra remembered something her tutor, Cerise, once told her. Hope isn't just waiting. Hope is taking the first step, even when you're afraid. Lyra smiled softly, thinking that maybe, for the first time, she wasn't alone under the stars. Alex Carter stood in the palace garden early in the morning, taking a deep breath of the cool, sweet air. He had never seen so many strange and beautiful plants. Some glowed softly in the dark, while others hummed like tiny bells in the wind. He felt far from home, but also curious, just like when he was a child exploring new places with his sister. He missed her, just as Princess Lyra missed her friend Kale. Alex kept thinking about the last time he and his sister were together, sitting on the roof of their house, looking at the stars. She had moved to another city for her studies, and though they promised to call every week, those talks became less and less. Sometimes Alex wondered if she missed him. Dot in the palace, Alex felt alone. Other challengers from distant worlds wore shining suits and carried expensive gifts. They looked at Alex with surprise, and sometimes with laughter. A human? From Earth? They whispered. He will not last a day. Alex heard their words, and a part of him wanted to go home. But he remembered why he was here. He wanted to help someone who seemed lonely, just as he sometimes felt. Princess Lyra watched the challengers from her balcony. She had to choose a partner, but none of the suitors seemed right. They talked about power and riches, but never about kindness or dreams. When she saw Alex, he looked nervous but also excited. He didn't try to impress anyone. He just stood, quietly looking at the stars. That afternoon, the king and queen announced the first challenge, a puzzle that tested wisdom and patience. The challengers were given a strange cube with shifting colors and hidden symbols. They had to solve it before sunset. Many tried to force the cube open or used gadgets to scan it. Alex, however, sat in the garden, turning the cube slowly in his hands. He studied the patterns and listened to the sounds it made when he touched it. Lyra watched from a distance. She saw how Alex smiled when he made progress, and how he asked a palace servant for advice about the symbols. The servant was surprised. No challenger had ever asked for help before. Together, they found that the symbols told a story, and the story was the key. By sunset, most challengers had given up or broken their cubes. Alex, with the servant's help, solved the puzzle. The cube opened, revealing a tiny crystal flower inside. When the king and queen asked how he did it, Alex said, "I listened, and I asked for help when I needed it." The crowd was surprised, but Lyra smiled for the first time in days. That night, Alex wrote a message to his sister. "I'm far from home, and sometimes I feel lost, but today I asked for help, and I made a new friend." Maybe being strong isn't about doing everything alone. Maybe it's about reaching out, even when it's hard. Lyra, too, tried to write to Kale again. This time, she was honest. "Kale, I miss you. Today I met someone who reminded me of you. He made me realize that it's okay to ask for help, and that hope is still alive, even when people are far away. I hope you're happy, and I hope we can talk again soon." Still, there was no reply from Kale. The sadness stayed with Lyra. But now there was a small light inside her, a hope that things could change. The next day, the second challenge was announced. This time, it was a test of courage. The suitors had to cross a narrow bridge over a deep, swirling river. Many bragged about their strength, but when they saw the bridge, they hesitated. The wind was strong, and the water below looked dangerous. Alex took a deep breath. He remembered how scared he was the first time he rode his bike without training wheels, but his sister had cheered for him from the sidewalk. "You can do it," she had said. Now he imagined her cheering for him again. He started across the bridge, step by careful step. Halfway across, a strong gust of wind made him stumble. He felt fear, but he also remembered his purpose for Lyra, for himself, and for everyone who ever felt alone. He kept going, moving slowly but surely. When he reached the other side, the crowd cheered. Lyra's heart lifted. She saw courage not in his speed, but in his steady hope. That night, Alex looked at the stars above the palace. He wished his sister could see what he was seeing. He hoped she was happy, just like he hoped Lyra would find happiness. Lyra watched Alex from her window. She still felt the ache of missing Cale, but Alex's quiet strength gave her comfort. She realized that sometimes hope could come from the most unexpected place, as even from a human stranger from across the stars. The palace was awake before sunrise. Today, the last and most important of the 3 trials would begin. Princes. Lyra watched the sky change from purple to gold from her window. She still felt a quiet sadness inside, thinking of Cale and all the friends she had lost. Sometimes it felt like there was a wall between her heart and the rest of the world. She wished she could reach through the distance, but she didn't know how. Down in the garden, Alex Carter wiped dew from his face and took a deep breath. He hadn't slept much. He missed his sister and the familiar sounds of Earth. Even though everyone around him was different, he tried his best to be kind and brave. He wanted to show Lyra and himself that hope was worth holding on to. The first 2 trials had surprised everyone. Alex solved the puzzle because he asked for help. He crossed the bridge not with speed, but with steady courage. Now, the last trial would test compassion, something many thought was less important than strength or wisdom. The royal family gathered in the grand hall. The floor glowed with soft light, and the air was filled with the scent of flowers. The king announced, "The 3rd trial is simple. There is a lost child somewhere in the palace maze. The first to find her and bring her safely to us wins." The other suitors rushed into the maze, pushing and shouting. They were determined to win at any cost. Alex paused at the entrance. He remembered how lost he had felt when his sister left. Home. He remembered the ache of missing someone, and not knowing if they missed you too. He walked quietly through the maze, listening for any sound. The walls were high and covered in vines. Sometimes he thought he heard laughter or footsteps, but it was only the wind. He felt a bit lost himself, but he kept moving forward. Finally, he heard a soft cry. He followed the sound and found a small Andarian girl sitting next to a broken fountain. She looked scared and lonely. Alex smiled gently and knelt beside her. "Hello," he said softly. "Are you all right?" She shook her head, tears shining in her eyes. "I want to go home," she whispered. Alex took her hand and told her a story about his own home, a place with blue skies and green trees, where he once got lost, but found his way because someone cared enough to look for him. He told her, "You're not alone now. I'll stay with you until we find the way out together." Slowly, the girl stood up. She trusted Alex, not because he was the strongest, but because he listened and cared. As they walked, Alex let the girl lead when she wanted. Too, he encouraged her when she felt afraid. After a long walk, they reached the exit. The crowd was waiting. Some of the other suitors had already returned, but none had found the child. When Alex appeared with the little girl holding his hand, the hall became silent. The king and queen stood and nodded in approval. Princess Lyra's heart filled with warmth. She saw something in Alex that she had never seen in any other challenger, not just bravery, but true kindness and hope. He didn't see the trial as a competition. He saw it as a chance to help. That evening, after the trial, there was a quiet celebration in the palace gardens. Alex sat on a bench, looking up at the stars. Lyra joined him, her dress glowing softly under the moonlight. "Thank you," she said, her voice gentle. You helped someone today, not because you had to, but because you wanted to. Alex smiled. When my sister first moved away, I didn't know how to talk to her. I felt alone. But I learned that sometimes you just have to reach out, even if it's scary. Helping that girl reminded me how important it is to care for each other, no matter the distance. Lyra nodded. I miss my friend too. I tried to write to him, but he hasn't answered. Sometimes I wonder if he still remembers me. Alex looked at her kindly. I think sometimes people are just waiting for someone to remind them they're not forgotten. Maybe your friend is waiting for you too. Lyra felt a little less alone. She realized that even if Cale never wrote back, she could still hope. She could still reach out to others, just as Alex had reached out to her Dot as the night grew quiet. Lyra and Alex talked about Earth and Andarian, about families and friends, and about hope. They were two people from different worlds, both missing. Someone far away, but finding comfort in each other's company. Alex wrote another letter to his sister that night. Today, I helped someone find their way. It made me think of you, and how much I miss our talks. I hope you're happy. I hope we can talk again soon. No matter how far apart we are, I'll always care. Lyra, too, sent another message to Cale with just 3 words. The palace was filled with light, laughter, and the gentle music of alien instruments. But Princess Lyra's thoughts were far away. She had watched Alex Carter pass the 3 trials, not through force or tricks, but by showing kindness and hope. Yet even as the celebration continued, she felt the familiar ache of missing Cale. She wondered if he would have been proud of her for reaching out, for believing in hope again. Alex, too, felt a quiet sadness as he looked up at the alien stars. He wished his sister could see him now, wished he could tell her about his new friend Lyra and all the things he was learning. Each night, he wrote her letters, even though she hadn't replied for weeks. Sometimes, Alex thought maybe she had grown too busy or moved on, but he kept writing because hope was something he carried with him, no matter where he went. The next day, the palace buzzed with excitement. News had spread that an unknown force had taken control of the palace's artificial intelligence, causing doors to lock, lights to flicker, and machines to malfunction. Some said it was a test. Others worried it was something far more dangerous. The royal guards rushed to solve the crisis, but nothing seemed to work. The other suitors panicked, demanding to be let out or blaming each other for the trouble. Alex, though nervous, didn't run or shout. He looked for Lyra, finding her in the library, trying to send messages for help. Are you okay? Alex asked. Lyra nodded, but her eyes were worried. The AI is out of control. I can't reach anyone outside. My parents are trapped in the India council room. I feel so helpless. Alex remembered his own helplessness when his sister left, when he waited for her calls that never came. He knew what it felt like to want to help but not know how. He took a steady breath. Let's try together. Maybe we can fix this. Lyra blinked, surprised. You're not afraid? I am, Alex said honestly. But sometimes the only way to beat fear is to face it with someone by your side. They hurried to the palace's control room, dodging flickering doors and strange alarms. When they arrived, the main computer screen flashed with warnings in dozens of languages. Lyra tried to enter commands, but the AI wouldn't listen. Alex looked around and spotted an old patch panel on the wall, a simple tool ignored by the other suitors. He remembered fixing broken radios with his dad, using nothing but patience and a bit of hope. May I? He asked Lyra. She nodded, stepping aside. Alex opened the panel and began connecting wires, listening to the hum of the machines. He talked softly to Lyra, asking her about the palace, about the AI's favorite routines, even about her favorite childhood memory. As they talked, Lyra felt her fear lessen. She remembered how Kale would make her laugh in scary moments, and how Alex's calm voice made her feel less alone. Finally, Alex found the right sequence. The alarm stopped, the lights brightened, and the doors unlocked. The AI's voice returned, calm and gentle once more. "You did it," Lyra exclaimed, relief flooding her face. "We did it," Alex corrected her. "You knew the right codes. I just listened and tried my best. Sometimes fixing things is about working together and not giving up, no matter how hard it seems." The palace staff cheered, and the king and queen hurried to thank Alex and Lara. The other suitors looked at Alex with new respect. They had seen strength in many forms, power, skill, bravery, but this was something new. Alex's strength was his hope, his heart, and his way of reaching out even when he felt alone. That night, Lyra and Alex walked in the garden. Lyra felt closer to him than ever, not just because he had saved the day, but because he understood what it meant to feel distant, to miss someone, and to keep hoping. "I used to think only the strongest could be heroes," Lyra said quietly. "But today you showed me that true strength can be gentle. It can be hope, kindness, and never giving up." Alex smiled, looking at the stars. "My sister always said, the bravest thing you can do is care, even when it hurts. I think that's why Earth is different. We keep hoping, even when things are hard." Lyra nodded. She felt the distance between her and Kale shrinking, even if he still hadn't replied. She realized that reaching out, caring for others, and never losing hope was what made her truly strong. Alex wrote another letter to his sister that night. "Today, I helped save a palace, not with muscles or fancy tools, but by listening, caring, and working together. I miss you, but I know you're out there, under the same stars. I hope we talk soon. Until then, I'll keep trying, just like you taught me." And somewhere, far away, his sister read his message and smiled, remembering how much it mattered to care and to never give up. The palace was peaceful again. The crisis with the AI was over, thanks to Alex and Lyra working together. Still, Lyra felt a gentle sadness as the days passed. She missed Kale, her friend who had moved away. Even after all this time and all the messages she sent, he hadn't answered. Sometimes she wondered if she should stop hoping. But then she remembered what Alex had taught her. Hope was something you kept, even when it was hard. The day of the final ceremony arrived. The whole galaxy watched as Lyra was to choose her partner. The grand hall glittered with decorations and the flags of many worlds. The other suitors stood tall and proud, dressed in their finest clothes. They looked strong and impressive, but Lyra saw something missing in their eyes. A spark of real kindness and understanding. Alex stood at the end of the line, in his simple earth clothes, quietly waiting. He looked a little nervous, but when he saw Lyra, he smiled. That smile made her feel brave. As the ceremony began, the king spoke to the galaxy. "Our daughter has faced many trials. She has shown wisdom, courage, and compassion. Today, she will choose the one who will stand by her side." Lyra's hands trembled as she stepped forward. She thought of all the suitors, their fancy gifts, and their promises. She thought of Kale, and the old sadness returned for a moment. But now, something was different inside her. She realized she was not alone. She had grown stronger through her journey, and she had found hope again. She looked at Alex. He didn't promise her power or riches. Instead, he had listened, cared, and worked with her when things were hard. He made her laugh and helped her believe in herself again. Lyra understood that this was the kind of connection she wanted, not just someone to stand beside her, but someone who understood what it meant to feel distant and still keep trying. She took a deep breath and spoke in a clear voice. "In this galaxy, Many have offered me strength and power, but I choose something different. I choose kindness, hope, and someone who never gives up on others, even when it's hard. I choose Alex Carter, the human from Earth. The hall was silent for a moment. Some were surprised, others whispered. But then, slowly, applause filled the room. The king and queen smiled, proud of their daughter's courage. Alex stepped forward, a little shy but happy. He bowed politely and took Lyra's hand. "Thank you," he said softly. "I may be far from home, but I've never felt more welcome than I do right now." After the ceremony, Lyra and Alex walked through the palace gardens. The flowers glowed in the evening light, and the stars above seemed brighter than ever. Lyra looked at Alex. "Do you ever miss your sister?" she asked. "Every day," Alex answered honestly. "Sometimes I feel so far away from her, like I'll never get to talk to her again. But I keep writing. I keep hoping." Lyra nodded. "I know how that feels. I miss Kale. I kept sending him messages, but he never answered. For a long time, I thought maybe I should just forget. But now I think it's okay to miss someone. It means they're still part of your heart." Alex smiled. "That's what makes us human. We love, we hope, and we keep trying, even when things are hard." They sat together in the garden, sharing stories about Earth and Andarian, about family, and about hope. Lyra felt the distance to Kale lessen, just a little. She knew she might not hear from him for a long time, or maybe never, but she was not alone anymore. That night, Lyra wrote one last message to Kale. "Dear Kale, I hope you're happy where you are. I want you to know that I'm okay too. I've found a new friend, and I'm learning that hope doesn't end, even when people are far apart. I'll always care about you, no matter what." She sent the message and felt a peaceful feeling inside. She had done all she could. Now it was time to move forward with hope. Alex also wrote to his sister. "Today, something wonderful happened. I was chosen not because I was the strongest, but because I cared. I hope you're proud of me. I'll always be here, waiting to hear from you. But until then, I'll keep living, hoping, and helping others just like you taught me." In the days that followed, Lyra and Alex met with visitors from across the galaxy. People wanted to know more about Earth and about the human spirit that could turn loneliness into hope. Lyra spoke about her journey, about missing her friend, and about how she learned that real strength comes from the heart. Alex shared stories of Earth, of families, friends, and the power of trying again, even after failing. As they spoke, more and more people began to understand. Sometimes the greatest heroes are not the strongest or the richest, but the ones who never give up hope, even when they feel far from the people they love.